Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hi friends, welcome to this video column, and this time we are going to talk about a very interesting personality. His name is Goswami Tulsidas. All of us must have heard about him. He was the one who wrote Ramcharitmanas, which is there in every household in northern and central India. And all of us have studied in school textbooks about him, especially those who have studied Hindi at the middle level. So all of us have studied his poems, and there were two poets, Surdas and Tulsidas. They are the medieval bhakti poets, and students are actually really scared of their poems, and they find it very difficult to understand. So that is the tragedy of our education system also, that people like Goswami Tulsidas have been portrayed as unidimensional personality, just as a poet who writes in a language which people in today's world find it difficult to understand. However, the fact is that actually I would say that Goswami Tulsidas is one of the most understated pioneers of Hindu Renaissance in the medieval era. In fact, on August 5, we are going to witness the beginning of construction of Ram Temple. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself expected to lay the foundation stone there and inaugurate the starting of the construction work. This is a momentous moment for the Hindu society in this country, as for the last 500 years they had been struggling to, there were movements after movements to build this Ram Temple. Now people may agree or people may disagree with the construction of the Ram Temple, but the fact remains that it is one of the biggest historical movements in the last 500 years of this country, and this is going to have a long-term impact on this country. Now Goswami Tulsidas plays a very important role in this, and unfortunately we haven't talked much about him. So there are certain things which I am going to share with you about Goswami Tulsidas, which are not taught in the textbooks and which also tell us that he was why he was a pioneer of Hindu Renaissance. One, that before he wrote Ramcharitmanas in 16th century, before that in central and the northern India, largely it was Valmiki Ramayana, which was written in Sanskrit, through which the story of Lord Rama was told. And after he wrote the Ramcharitmanas in a popular Hindi dialect called Awadhi, so it reached to every household. And in fact, the Western scholars who have studied Ramcharitmanas, they seem to be so deeply influenced by it that they say that it is like the best and the most trustworthy guide to the popular living and faith of its people in India. And they have also called it the Bible of Northern India, because he wrote Ramcharitmanas and he wrote it in such a way that everybody could understand the epic or the story of Lord Rama. So the story reached to every home, and that was one of the reasons that people found an intimate emotional connect with Lord Rama, and that emotional connect ultimately proved to be the crux, or ultimately proved to be the key factor when it came to building up a mass movement for Ram Janmabhoomi. So Goswami Tulsidas was a scholar of Sanskrit, but despite that he chose to write in Awadhi. One. Second is that there are certain things which he did, and the present generation I think probably needs to know about it. One, that the Ram Leelas which we see all around us, which happen in now almost every part of the country and in the Southeast Asian nations also. So the tradition of Ram Leela was started by no one else but Tulsidas himself. He used to train troops in the artists in Kashi, in Varanasi, where he was staying. And then from there they used to go to different parts of the country and perform Ram Leelas. So the Ram Leelas was started by him after he wrote Ramcharitmanas. Apart from that, he also set up a number of what we call akhadas. As we see, the places where Indian wrestling is practiced. So the tradition of setting up such akhadas can also be largely attributed to Goswami Tulsidas. And he wrote Hanuman Chalisa and made Lord Hanuman popular. Lord Hanuman was not so popular amongst the devotees before that, but today millions of people from not only Hindus but millions of people from different faiths. So on every Tuesday and Saturday especially, prayers are offered all across not only the country but all across the globe, wherever the Lord Hanuman temples are. So to Lord Hanuman, and he also set up a large number of Lord Hanuman temples. In fact, the famous Sankat Mochan temple in Varanasi is said to have been founded by Goswami Tulsidas himself. Now we will look at what some of the Western scholars had to say about it. The Western scholars, one of the foremost authorities on Ramcharitmanas and Goswami Tulsidas is an American Indologist and a professor of Hindi and modern studies in the United States. So his name is Philip Lugendorf. What Mr. Philip had to say, he wrote a book in 1991 which is one of the most exhaustive books on Ramcharitmanas. It's called The Life of a Text Performing the Ramcharitmanas of Tulsidas. It was published by University of California Press in 1991. So what he says in this book, anyone interested in the religion and culture of northern India sooner or later encounters a reference to the epic poem Ramcharitmanas and its remarkable popularity. This 16th century retelling of the legend of Ram by the poet Tulsidas has been hailed not merely as the greatest modern Indian epic, but as something like a living sum of Indian culture, singled out as the tallest tree in the magic garden of medieval Hindu poetry. In fact, Mahatma Gandhi also said that when he talked about Ramcharitmanas, he was so deeply influenced by it. He said that it is the greatest book of all devotional literature. And then we have a very interesting quote from one of the noted Indologists and British civil servant F.S. Grouse. So F.S. Grouse was posted in India in 19th century, and he wrote a book and published it in 1883 called the Ramayana of Tulsidas, where he says that talking about the impact of Tulsidas Ramayana on society, the principles that he expounded have permeated every sect and explicitly or implicitly now form the nucleus of the popular faith as it prevails throughout the whole of Bengal Presidency from Hardwar to Calcutta. Another scholar, Frank Willing, he sums it up the best, and when he says in his book The Rise of the Religious Significance of Rama. So this book was published by Motilal Banarsidas in 1980. And I am mentioning all these publishers so that if any of our viewers they want to have a look at these books, so they can buy them also. And because many of these books are not easily available online also. So Frank Welling says in The Rise of the Religious Significance of Rama, Tulsidas created an integral rather than a new symbol of Rama. So to sum up the whole conversation, today when we are at the cusp of history going to begin the construction of Ram temple, for which 500 years of struggle was carried out and millions of Hindus lost their lives and paid a huge price for that. In that battle, if there was one key catalyst which kept on attracting, which kept on ensuring that masses remain connected with this movement, that was Goswami Tulsidas. And through his Ramcharitmanas, he made Ram a household name. He brought Ram closer to the people. He took Ram out of the academic circles, and it merely didn't remain an epic, and everybody got connected to Lord Rama. If I sum it up, it was Ramcharitmanas which turns Ram from merely a god to a national icon. Thank you.